So at this point, we're pretty much done with header.php. If we look back at our example blog, you'll see that we've created the login form, which we're not going to worry about styling just now, and we've created and we've changed this description to an email address, which are the two things we kind of set out to do with the header. Next, we'd like to mess a little bit with the way that posts are displayed, and the two kind of just exercises that I've suggested are we can try first of all moving the title of our post down to the bottom of it. You would probably never want to do this in real life, but it's a nice kind of avant-garde experiment to show you a little bit more about how template tags work. And it'll also we'll also get to understand something in the WordPress called the loop a bit better when we do this. And similarly, we're also going to mess with one other kind of template tag that works with the loop, and that one is the date. We're going to want to change this posting time rather to read the day of the week in addition to the date on which the thing was posted. So let's try those couple things. So first of all, like I said, we're pretty much done with this header.php element here, and we're also probably done with the style.css. I don't think we're going to style any more of this stuff. Now, so basically, we need to find the place where our posts are going to are getting displayed when they run down the page here. Now, if we go this it may be a little bit different. Like which file this is located in may be a little bit different depending on your WordPress theme. So so basically, one way to kind of figure out what's going on is to open up the index.php file. So I'll actually open this in Text Wrangler and make it a little bit bigger so it's not ridiculously hard to see. And again, earlier we saw that we're there, we actually. So I actually am introducing this for the first time. So you'll see when you look at the index.php file, remember that index.php is kind of the orchestra conductor here, where it's the thing that WordPress phones up initially, and it will sort of include the different pieces it'll stitch together a lot of these other kind of elements of the WordPress theme, right? So it'll put in the header and the sidebar and so on and so forth. And so we can actually look down the list here and see how it does this. So if we open up the index.php file, we can see that the first thing it does is get the header, and this is just another template tag, right? That's all it is. It's another template tag that says get header, and when it sees this, it actually goes looking for header.php, right? Awesome. So this is just a template tag that they dropped in that does that for them, and then you get to this section that's actually going to there's this thing here that says if have posts and so on and so forth, and then we get to this part here that says while have posts. Now, why am I showing you this, right? This looks like arcane PHP. This is not really kind of the level at which we want to be encountering WordPress. We're not like hardcore PHP developers here and so on and so forth. The reason I'm showing you this is that this line right here, while have post the post, you don't really need to know what it means so much, but what you do need to know is that this line is iconic within WordPress. Pretty much every WordPress theme has this line, while have posts the post, right? The reason for that is it starts a sort of a section of the WordPress code called the loop. Now, what the loop is the loop is actually it is the piece of WordPress code that progressively like iterates through all of your blog posts. So if you ask WordPress to display all your blog posts for the last month on an archive page or something like that, the loop is the code that goes through and it looks for it goes through and sequentially like pulls the data down for all of those posts. When you open up just your blog on the default main page, it's the same code. The loop is what is the nickname for this section of code that goes through and it pulls down the data for all the different posts that you see on your blog. So our lorem ipsum post, followed by hello world, followed by these posts from my personal blog, and so on and so forth. What's happening here when they get displayed is in the section of WordPress's code called the loop is going through, and it is progressively taking information on each of one of these things from the database and presenting it. So the loop is important because basically whatever happens, whatever happens in the loop will be repeated over and over and over for every post on the page that you're displaying, right? So when you run the loop on the front page of your blog, it goes through and it runs the same code over and over and over to display each post. And so that if we were to sort of abstract, it would look something like, oh, get the headline, get the comment count, are there any comments, get the display the post time, display the content, and then sort of display the metadata like the categories and so on and so forth that the post is in, and then finally put in like a hairline or something like that that caps off the post or whatever. So basically what's happening is that sort of instruction is repeated over and over and over again. So the next post down on the list when it's writing it is oh, get the headline, see if there are any comments, get the date and the content and the metadata, and it does the same thing again. Get the headline, get the comment count, get the date, get the content and the metadata. Okay, so basically this is going on over and over and over again to lay out a substantial portion of your page. So the loop, like the very title of the loop being called loop, it sort of is indicative of the fact that this is a bit of code that's going to be repeated over and over and over. It is also important because it is the thing that is displaying your blog content, right? Because it's the thing that's actually it's the piece of code that is actually displaying your posts, which is sort of the reason for existence of your WordPress blog is to display posts, right? So the loop is important for that reason. The last sort of reason that the loop is important is that there are the template tags that have to do with displaying your posts correctly. For instance, like there's a template tag called the title that displays the title of your post, and there are template tags for the date, and there are template tags for the content of your post, and so on and so forth. Those template tags that are meant to display those things typically work only inside the loop. So if you were to place a template tag for the title of your post and you put it somewhere up here that was outside of the loop, in other words, that was outside of this section of code that's being run iteratively to post each of your posts in sequence, if you place that template tag outside the loop, it won't work. So basically, understanding so basically, even if you don't understand all the PHP that we're talking about here, what is important to understand is that the loop is a section of code that's going to be repeated, it's going to be repeated over and over and over to display 1, 2, 3, 4, all of your blog posts in sequence, and that many of the template tags that you might want to use to sort of format your posts, to change the way that the title or the headline, or the title or the date or the author like byline looks, and so on and so forth. Many of those sort of template tags will only work if they are nested, if they reside between the beginning and the end of the loop. Okay, so that's sort of the important thing to know. So the loop begins with this while have posts, and it will end sort of with this end while statement here. On many templates or WordPress themes, the loop is demarcated like sort of much more clearly. It happens to be inside this index.php file on our particular on the 2011 template that we're working with. But some templates will actually have within the sort of list of PHP files here, some templates will actually have a file that is explicitly called the loop.php or loop.php. And so basically, like they're, that's indicative of kind of the importance of this, because they're actually making its its own section of the template. In this case, they've kind of done an approach that's kind of halfway in between. The loop is actually written into the index.php file here on 2011 or this 2011 WordPress theme. But if you notice, there's this they've kind of there's this one line of code in between that is actually says get template part content, right? What does that mean? Okay, so this is kind of an oddity of the 2011 WordPress theme. I'm not saying it's the only place where this occurs. It's not. There'll be other developers who do it this way as well. But this is sort of a weird kind of way of requesting this this content.php document here. So it's saying get the template part named content. Okay, so what's actually happening is all of the sort of code for displaying each of the posts iteratively, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is occurring in this content.php document that is basically this this template tag here that says get template part content is kind of like get header or get sidebar or get footer. But instead of requiring the header.php file or the footer.php file, which is pretty obvious from get footer and get header and so on and so forth, what they're doing is this is a template tag that says get template part, and then they have to more explicitly name it, because content.php is not necessarily a PHP document that or a PHP file that exists in every theme. So basically, this is a sort of a way of apologizing a little bit for the default theme, that it kind of does things in this weird way. But what it's doing basically is at this point between the start and the end of the loop, it's running code that exists not in the index.php file, but in the content.php file. So in other words, to mess with the way that posts appear, so I put the title at the bottom, or change the way that the date is displayed, basically anything that has to do with the posts that appear sequentially on the page like this, we're going to have to go to the file in which all of those those template tags are located and so forth, to do with the title and the content and everything else. And to do that, we have to go to content.php in this case. Again, this is something that's different between different WordPress files. And if you can't, so basically, if you can't find the loop, index is a good place to start. Index.php, and it will sort of and it will at least to some extent help us to locate. Let me actually close this out and reopen it, because it's open in the wrong window here. So the index.php file will assist you in locating kind of the different pieces of the WordPress of the WordPress theme that are being pulled in sequence. So the thing that you want to find is the loop. Whatever to edit sort of how the posts appear in sequence on the page, you want to find kind of whatever template file or template files that contain the loop. And in this case, most of the code that happens inside the loop is going to be in this content.php file. As you can see, there's nothing in between the while and end while, or the start and end of the loop, except for this content.php thing. And so let's go to content.php, and we'll open it up. And let's see, I am going to make this larger again so you can see it. And again, we're going to find something that looks pretty messy. Okay, this basically, there'll be a big sort of sequential looking thing here. Or that says like so, and what this is doing is it's exhausting sort of every possibility of a way a post might be loaded, right? So it's saying, oh, is the post a sticky post, which is a post that you may have, if you've used a WordPress blog, you can mark a post as sticky and it will stay at the top of your blog page, no matter like whether even if you continue publishing things afterward, the post that you've marked as sticky will always be at the top. So basically it's saying, well, if the post is a sticky post, then, sort of put it first. Otherwise, do this, and so on and so forth. And you'll continue to see sort of all these different if statements. So, if it has comments, if it's part of search results, if we are, let's see, if it's a post of a, like, sort of, if it shows, if we're like looking at a particular category, and so on and so forth. Or sorry, if we're looking at a category page or whatever. So this content page is going to, it will, or whatever kind of like page that contains the code for the loop is going to be pretty extensive. So don't freak out when you see it. It's going to have a bunch of sort of conditional statements and so on and so forth. The thing to do is keep your eye on the prize. So if we want to if we want to mess with the title of our WordPress post, there is actually a template tag. So if you wanted to find it here, you could look at it. So it's called the title. This template tag called the title, unsurprisingly, it displays the title of the current post. So this is the headline of your post, will be displayed using this template tag called the title. So if we search for the title, here we go. So there's this other thing here that says the title attribute and so on and so forth. Don't worry too much about that for the moment. Basically, we just want to find every instance of the title here. And what we'll do is if we want to display this sort of line that has the title on it at the end of the post rather than at the beginning, then what we're going to do is we're going to put this after the content. So there is also a template tag, and you can look this one up in the template tag reference as well, but there's a template tag called the content. So and so basically what we'd like to do is we want to put the template tag, if we want to put the title after the content, we're going to take the lines that have the title on it. And so let's see how many of those there are. Let's see what I've gotten myself into here. Oops. Okay. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. Okay, so let's find all instances of the title. Okay, so there's only 2 of them. So because half these things that are showing up are the title attribute. So you can ignore my little aside there, just figuring out kind of how many places to put this title here. Okay, so let's take this here this line that says the title, and we can with this, in this case it's going to be this whole sort of section here where it's if the post is sticky, display the title this way, otherwise display the title that way, and finally end the if statement right here. So that's what this is doing, which is a little bit more complicated than I'd hoped. But what we're going to do is we're going to just cut and paste everything here from the beginning of this if statement to the place where it says end if. And then we're going to go to the place where we see the content, right here is the content. And we're going to paste that code from before. We're going to paste it beneath the content here. So, whereas the title used to come before the content. Now we have the content, and then this code for the title comes afterward. So let's save that, refresh the page, and now we can see that our post starts up here and the title comes after the post. Again, that's a little bit more complicated than I had hoped for, the way this template has it laid out. So I'm going to undo some of this stuff. But basically, the point is that anywhere this little tag here called the title goes can be dropped it can be dropped on the page. So for instance, if we wanted to, after the content here, let me find that again. Here it is. We can just put this little template tag that says the title after the content. And so let's save it, and we'll refresh the page. And I replaced this title up here where all that code where it was originally. But if we go down here, we'll see that the title is also occurring down here, and sort of after the content. Although it's not in big, beautiful, bold letters. We can fix that by just adding some HTML tags around it. So we can say h1 and /h1. Save that. Refresh the page. And you can see that now that it's like sort of it's in bold because it's in this h1 tag and so forth. And if we wanted to, we could then just delete this if-then statement with the more complicated version of displaying the title here. Save it and refresh the page. And we get now this, and now we have, so we deleted the sort of messy version, all this if-then code and stuff like that, and just put a really simple, just dropped in this thing that says the title, the simplest version of this template tag down here. And that's sort of the simpler way of just kind of dropping the title after the post. Of course, then there's this problem that we no longer have the link, and so on and so forth, because it turns out that there is a different tag, or there's a different template tag for the permalink. So let's get rid of. I've kind of put it back here. Let me get rid of this one more time. This is all the different information. This is the original theme sort of code for displaying the title. So I'm just going to delete all that, and then right here inside this h1 bracket down here, I'm going to put a href is equal to, and then we're going to put this PHP bracket here that says the permalink, which unsurprisingly is the template tag for the link to the post. And then we'll put the closing HTML right there and save it. And I'll go over kind of what we've done here one more time, since I know we've had some detours, so I'll just kind of break it down one more time here in a second. Let's save this, refresh the page, and now we can see sample title. So we've got this title that's now at the end of our page, or at the end of each post. Okay? And so that brings up the individual post page here. Now, so let's simplify this one more time. Okay, so I'm going to undo a bunch of stuff here. And now we've got the page as it was originally, as we found it. Okay? So this content.php page here, we went and we found this template tag called the title, which displays the title. We noticed that it's inside this much more complicated, like sort of if-else statement that begins here with if and ends with end if and so forth. So there's this conditional going on, and basically, if you wanted to know what it's doing, is it's saying if the post is a sticky post, display the title this way, and if it's not a sticky post, display the title that way. Right? That's more complicated than we really need to think about right now. But basically, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to delete all this complex code, or more complex code here that is displaying the title. So refresh the page, and now we've deleted the title from the top of the post. And if we want to, so there's a place here where the content is displayed. This is another template tag called the content, and that displays all the content for us. And then after the content, we're just going to put in these PHP brackets here again, and we're going to put in the template tag. It says the title, and save that. And then you'll notice that the title, because again this template tag just puts the title of the blog post in, the title appears now after the content of the post. It is still unstyled, or it's not in big bold letters because we haven't put any tags around it. So so basically we want to put a heading tag around it. So we can just put a heading tag around that there. Save it, and now this will bold that title. So now our title is bold, but it's still unclickable. We'd like to be able to click it and get to the post. So the last thing that we do is we're again going to just put in some normal HTML around the title, around these PHP brackets here. So that's just a regular anchor tag, except for the location of the anchor tag, we're going to drop in another sort of the href, like the link that goes inside the anchor tag. We're going to drop in another template tag, and this one is going to be the permalink, and that contains the link there, or that will spit out the link to the blog post. So now if we refresh the page one more time, you can see that this title has now become a link. We can click it, and it's going to take us to that blog post, and so on and so forth. So basically, we've just written some normal HTML here, except in the places where we wanted the content to be dynamic, that is to say, we wanted it to appear differently based on what WordPress was, what the title or the information presented by WordPress was. In those cases, all we did was we dropped in a template tag that would spit out the data, or would spit out the data dynamically. In other words, it would spit out a different title for each blog post. It would spit out a different link for each blog post. And so by dropping those things in there, we are able to sort of make it such that the link and the title appear differently each time they appear. And so then we have working links and working titles for each of our blog posts that appear beneath the content, because again, all we had to do was just delete basically delete the section where the title appeared above the blog post, and which is inserted by this template tag called the content, and throw it in after the content. Okay? So again, this page looks really messy because it's got all these if and then, it's got all these conditionals, right? The thing to do is keep your eyes on the prize. Find the piece of the page that is displaying the title or the content, or is displaying, or is displaying the permalink, or whatever it is, whatever the item is that you want. You can scan the page and sort of find the thing find the very specific item that you want to move around, and you can just worry about cutting and pasting that. Okay, so this is kind of how you deal with this is how you can deal with kind of moving around template tags and so on and so forth. So that's basically that exercise. And the last thing we're going to do here is I'm going to show you how to how to sort of change the format of the date. And this will be kind of one final exercise with template tags, and then we're going to kind of move on from there. And I'll show you just some simple but useful stuff to keep it that you can keep in mind, or make use of when developing or messing with WordPress themes. So anyway, one more template tag example to kind of to review these points one more time. So that's that. I'll move on to the next thing.